who loves people. And his greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. He's not afraid to take risks. Or you missed it. If you're not afraid to take risks, you'll get out of the boat. If you're afraid to take risks, you'll stay in the boat. But when you don't mind getting out of the boat, because Jesus said, come, everything works. So today, he started us this year with those 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and future. So today we on family. The history and legacy of Louisiana and America would not be the same without the 2 people being honored today. Amen. They call it living legacy, the history of our people. Now, there are people who are going to come up and guide this worship. And Joe Green going to be right here where he can get some of that glory, because I got 24 years and 4 months to make my 100. And when I get to be 100, you young folk in here today, they said that old man told us he was going to make it. And then y'all do everything you can for the 100-year-old Joe. I'm just honored to have this Carrie Ambush with you. Joe's come with us in life, living history that will bless us today. Now, y'all know who's supposed to say what, when, and where. So whoever's supposed to be next to talk about Miss Carrie, and she wouldn't trust us till brother got beside her. So Bernard, thank you for being present with me. Oh, who got Miss Carrie? Where she is? What game? What kind of? Where she? And all 3 of y'all gonna come stand with me? Oh, Elizabeth. Come on, Connie. They done put the work on Sheila, but y'all come hang with me. Evelyn Gale, come on. Well, Mike and Pet and all of that.
I'm born of But guess what? This young lady sitting there, she's 99 plus years old. That deserves to be in our prayers. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Psalm 37:25, and you've already used it on your program, says, I was young, and now I am old. Yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken, or the children begging bread. Currently ambushed Thomas Williams, now at the blessed age of 99, was born to the union of Howard and Melinda Ambush on November 18, 1916. She's the youngest of 8 siblings. Her brothers were George, Wilbert, and Robert Ambush. Her sisters were Emma Williams, which is Bernard's grandmother, and Sonia, where's Sonia? Bertha Parker, Minerva Brown, Jeanette, and Nina Ambush. Those two she didn't even know. Miss Carrie, better known to us in her earlier years as Medea, kind of like Medea you see on TV, but now known to many as Granny, possesses a very stern determination and is steadfast and unmovable in her belief in God. She married Almo Thomas and was blessed with one daughter, Alma Lee Thomas Fields. After the death of her husband, she later married Julius Willard Williams. I need some money. And God said, let there be. Come on. And there was. No children were born of this union. Through that one daughter, she has been blessed with 6 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, and 13 great-great-grandchildren. Would you all please stand? You'll see some of them on the screen that's Miss Carrie has been a Brown, has been a member of St. Matthew all her life. She served earlier as an usher, but was later responsible for starting the first choirs in the church. She started the senior choir and was going to continue as an usher, but the choir members told her that if she didn't sing, they wouldn't either. So she agreed to sing with them. However, y'all, she put her own sister, Sister Emma Williams, out of the choir, along with Sister Gertrude Mickens, because they kept getting heavy. Y'all know that mean? And they kept tearing up the choir chair. What you gonna do? She put it out. And they did not bother her one bit about that. They just went ahead and got on the deaconess board, what Granny calls the shows. That's how they say it was shows, y'all. But it's a deaconess board. She later started the youth choir. Her sisters, Willie Mae Powell and Josephine Green, were a part of it. She also served as the treasurer for various organizations in the church. Granny has been a source of strength for her family throughout their lives, our lives, from her daughter to the grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren, and even the great-great-grandchildren. She has been there for us spiritually and financially. You would think someone of meager means could not cope, but she does. Every now and again, she puts a little something in our hands. And you say, no, Granny, don't do that. You don't tell me what to do, she said. I do it. The Lord bless me, and He has. She leaves a legacy of music, her own singing, and that of her daughter and her daughter's children and grandchildren. She constantly reminds us to use our gifts for the Lord. There's so much that can be said on my granny. However, time does not permit. I don't know how to make you understand the valuable role that she has played in our lives. She's been a rock model. I can only imagine now what They're a valuable source of information. Their love. That's what keeps us going, y'all. Yeah, you can clap on that one. God has seen fit to allow her to live to this age and see changes that I'm sure she never even imagined. So then we honor her for her faithfulness and to this family and to this church. We are often reminded of the scriptures in Psalm 91, which says, I will say the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. It further states in verses 14 to 16, because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue Him. I will protect Him, for He acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer Him. I will be with Him in trouble. I will deliver Him and honor Him. With long life will I satisfy Him and show Him my salvation. These passages have certainly been made manifest in the life of Mother Carrie Williams, Granny, Madia, whoever you choose to call her. You will often hear her say, I know the Lord answers my prayers. And her favorite song of worship was the one that we played earlier. Thank you so much for allowing me to come before you and tell you just a little bit about my granny. Thank you, Pastor Jackson. Thank you, Pastor Green. And all the administrators, Sister Johnny. I don't know where that is, but thanks to everyone. God bless you, and His favors upon you always.
Before I enter this on, I would like to make a few comments about Black history. February has been designated as Black History Month. And when we think about St. Matthew Baptist Church, St. Matthew Baptist Church is Black history. 147 years worth of Black history. It survived the Great Flood of 1927 and the Great Depression of 1929, and it's still growing and expanding. St. Matthew has been blessed with the membership of strong and talented women and men that have played major roles in helping this community, state, and country grow and prosper. Also, it's provided the leadership for many causes in central Louisiana. And a lot of these causes that St. Matthew led and supported has contributed to a better place to work, play, and worship. As I thought about Black history, and I want to talk a little about Black History Month, because I think it's important for us, my age as well as our young people, to understand who we are and to be proud of who we are. But there are mixed emotions about Black history. Some people say that Black history has outlived its purpose, the destination of 1 month. And some say that Black history, when you consider it, we contributed too much to have it confined to 1 month. And I was watching TV not long ago, and I saw Brother Morgan Freeman, who was nominated for an Oscar for driving Miss Daisy, and also a Southern boy said he doesn't celebrate Black history. Well, I respect his opinion and his position, but that doesn't mean that I agree with him. No one is forcing us to restrict our celebration to 1 month. We can celebrate Black history every day, every week, every month, and every year. Black History Month didn't just start out as Black History Month. Actually, it was started in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson. It was first Negro History Week, and evolved over the years. In the 1960s, it spread on college campuses. That was during the era of the Civil Rights Movement. And that's when we fell in love with ourselves as Black people. You know, you heard chants like, I'm Black and I'm proud. You know, Black power, Black is beautiful. We wore these afros, and I wish I'd say something of that. And it caught fire. And we should continue to celebrate and to appreciate our legacy. And when I think about these two ladies, when we think about what they have contributed over the years, that's enormous. And we should be proud of our history for a number of reasons, and I'm sure you'll experience the same thing that I have. We hear people from other races and other nationalities say that how their people came across the ocean on the boats with only a shell in the back, and they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps to achieve success. Well, let me share something with you. Our people came across the same ocean, but they didn't have a shell in their back. They were passengers as these people. They were cargo. And they were down in the holds of the ship without shirts. They didn't have shoes or boots. So how can you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Impossible to do that. They didn't have tickets. They were treated as cargo. They had a bill of lading or a cargo man. So you see, when we look back across history and see where we came from, we have a lot to be proud of, and we have a lot to celebrate, and we should do that. When we think about Black History Month, many of us think about some of our national icons, people that have carved a place in history for themselves. But on Friday at Louisiana College, Reverend Green sponsored a luncheon to honor the Black professors and teachers at Louisiana College. It was a very well-attended occasion. But one of the things that he said that stuck with me, and I agree with him 100% on, is that we should not wait until they have passed away to show our appreciation. We should show their flowers while they're living. And you know, we don't have to go across the country or across the state to find people that are worthy of celebration and recognition. Sometimes all we have to do is look around the corner, across the street, or in our case, right here in St. Matthew, across the next street. And that's what we are about today. And I think it's important for us to celebrate Black history with these two icons. And they were trailblazers. And many of the privileges and opportunities that we enjoy today, and sometimes often unappreciated, is because of them, because of the sacrifices that they made, because of their courage. And it's hard for some of us to reflect back on the years of pain and the years of sacrifice that they have experienced. Sheila has done an excellent job. Oh God, I wish I could say it like her, but I can't. And Miss Karen deserves everything and more that was said about her, and I'm sure there are chapters and books that can be written about her life. Now, I'm going to present my aunt, Ella Compton, and any of my siblings could have done it, but since I am the youngest, the quietest, and the best looking, they decided to allow me to do it. Some of you may have received a copy of her abbreviated bio, but I will take a few moments to say some things that may be captured in that bio, but I'll also say some other things that aren't captured in that bio that may get me in trouble. But Reverend Green told me not to worry about it. He has my back, so I'm going to be depending on him. I'd like to first share with you some of the things that I remember about the civil rights movement and my aunt and my mother. And she was a member of Health Planners. I know many of you don't know the Health Planners, who the Health Planners Club or organization was. But it was a civil rights and a political organization that was started back in the 60s. And the purpose of the organization was to force compliance with the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Even though the Civil Rights Act was the law of the land, some of the powers to be in the local people refused to implement it. So not only was Health Planners organized, but a lot of other organizations throughout the South sprang up to make the local folk understand that this is the law of the land, and we're going to help you, in some cases force you to implement it so our people can enjoy the rights and privileges that were incorporated in that legislation. Some of the other charter members and members of the health planners, I'll mention some names that I'm sure most of you, or some of you know, Attorney Louis Berry. Attorney Louis Berry, during the 60s, was the second African-American attorney in Central Louisiana. I think Attorney Hines was the other. P. Spencer Torrey, she was a member of that organization. She was the first African-American attorney in Central Louisiana, and her husband, Robert Torrey. Reverend P.M. Hall was also signed on those articles of incorporation. Reverend Hall was the pastor of Good Hope Baptist Church, where I was baptized, and he was a very unique person. He pastored 4 churches, didn't have a car, he couldn't drive. and Reverend Green can attest to that. Reverend Sylvester Valley, many of you know Reverend Sylvester Valley. He was the assistant pastor at Good Hope Baptist Church. But many of you know him for the desegregation suit that was filed against the Rapides Parish School Board. It was Virgin Valley versus the Rapides Parish School Board. So you see, these are a lot of men of God, but also men about getting things done right. The last person I have here is A.C. Dubriel. I don't know if many of you remember him, but he was legally blind. A man that was legally blind, but he hit on the car even though he could not drive the car, and he owned about 3 businesses. Perhaps one of the most intelligent men that I ever knew. He lived right next door to my wife's family, and when I would go up to Court Margaret, he'd be looking out trying to get me to come and drive him. And I did, and I had to drive him, and always on a Sunday. I don't understand that. And the more we drove and the more beer he drank, the more he wanted to drive and the more he wanted to talk. But as I think about that, that was perhaps one of the best educational experiences that I had, because he was a brilliant man, very, very intelligent. Another episode of the Civil but I would not allow this other story about the history of Central Louisiana dying and remaining buried with those soldiers. She resurrected the story, pulled it up, and it gained national attention because of what she did. A committee of one that resurrected this other story. She still annually, she does cemetery visits during Black History Month. And there are 2 great sites she visits in particular. And I told you about one, Attorney Louis Berry. Attorney Louis Berry, he was the first African-American attorney, but he was also the African-American legal mind. He was the legal mind behind a lot of the accomplishments. He actually wrote the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws for the health planners. And Camille Gravel was a white attorney. He was a senior partner in a law firm called Gravel, Roy, and Burns. He was a dear friend of Attorney Louis Berry and a close friend of the Black community. I was in the bank during my early career, and I walked in on a meeting where some of his white brothers were talking about him, and they called him Booker T. Bradley because of his relationship with the Black community. Now, I never did a lot more as far as civil rights, but to me, the epitome of what I would like to talk about is what she did as a mother and the impact that she had on the lives of my siblings and myself. And I'm going to take a few selected words to end my presentation with. And those words are church, education, labels, competitive spirit, high standards, and giving back. And I'm going to make a few comments about each of them. Church. We attended Good Hope Baptist Church in Pineville, Louisiana. That was no excuse for not going to church. Not only did we have to go to church, we had to go to Sunday school. We had to participate in church activities. Would you believe I sang in the junior choir? I still hold the record of being the best lip singer in the whole church. Labels. She never like labels. And one of the labels that she hated the most was at-risk children. And she thought a group of psychologists and sociologists got together and came up with a label for African-American children. She often told me that everybody's at risk of something at some time. If you drive in a car, you're at risk of having an accident. Walk across the street, you're at risk of being hit. But you can do things to mitigate those risks. You can drive safely and you can shake the train. So she never liked it. And also, the other label that she didn't like was kids coming from one parent families that they were destined to fail. Well, I would like to tell those sociologists and psychologists, I came from a family with two mothers, and we caught hell twice. So we didn't recognize so much of the absence of a father, but the presence of a second mother. Education, and she was carried, and a lot of others back during the 60s. Education was the way out for us. And they talked about it, and they forced it, and they wanted to make sure that we got good education. They wanted us to enjoy a better quality of life than they enjoyed. Well, these next few stories about me, how she impacted me. Well, I didn't embrace that thing about education as much as she did. I wasn't a model student. In fact, I got into more trouble than any of my other siblings. When I would get off over yellow, Mr. Harry Williams dropped us off in front of Peabody High School. When that old yellow was out of sight, I would cross those tracks, get on Broadway. I would walk up to Lee Street, shoot pool, and do a lot of other stuff I wasn't supposed to do until it was time for him to pick us up and take us back to Pineville. Well, they found out about it when they were tired of my shenanigans. Even though we were Baptists, they never took it upon herself to go and talk to the Catholic priest about sending me to an all-boys school. I think it was Holy Rosary in Lafayette. And I didn't want to go. And they were packing my clothes and we were having a great debate. And fortunately, I lived across the street from Reverend Hayden Williams. I think a lot of you know Reverend Williams. He came to my rescue and he asked him to, not to send him, but to allow him to work with me. I didn't like that idea either, but it was better than going to this all-boys school. But I moved to like a lot more because I had to go with him on Sunday mornings. So he passed a couple of churches. One was in Oak Grove, and we got that old 57 Ford and take out. But one of the things that I remember vividly is that after church was over, he would go and visit the family, and the preachers ate first, and they ate the best. And I was there with him. And I really like that. I look forward to Sundays. Competitive spirit. She's probably one of the most competitive persons that I know. She loves winning. That's at everything. And that she just doesn't like to settle in second place. As I told you, I went to Peabody. I finally got on the right track. And two of my classmates, Lonnie and his wife, Eleanor, were here. And they were my classmates. And I think they were singing in the choir, and Ronnie played in the band, and I played baseball. And at that time, Peabody was recognized for everything, academics, athletics, arts, sciences, you name it, Peabody was the school. And this particular year, we went to the baseball team, one district we went to Ruston, actually Grambling, because during segregation, you either went to Grambling or went to Southern, and for the playoffs. And we drew the best team in the whole state, and I was asked to pitch. And God was with me that night. I pitched one hitter. And I came home. I was happy as I could be. The town talked. They put an arc in the paper. And that's something they didn't do for black athletes back then. And I walked over to Annette, and I was out telling her how proud I was, how excited. But she said, but you lost. And we did. And we lost. But it was because the catcher threw the ball away and nothing else. But that just goes to show you. Pitching one hitter just wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough. You had to win. With her coming in second, it's like being the first loser. And that's the way she lives her life. Another one is high standards. And she always had high standards. Still has high standards. And I think impossible standards. When I was at Grambling, one of my professors nominated me for who's who in American colleges and universities. And I came home and I told her I was going to make the dean's list. Well, I didn't make the dean's list. I had a 3.4 when I needed 3.5. And I told her I was still excited about it, and she told me she wasn't, and she looked me in the eye, and I'll never forget this. And she said, the worst person in the world is to satisfy you. And she went on to tell me that when you become satisfied, you cease to exist. And I thought she was being harsh, and I thought she was being just couldn't satisfy me no matter what. But that's how I reflect back on it. She wasn't punishing me, she was motivating me, she was encouraging me to do better. And getting back, this is the final one, then I'll let you go. But she always practices getting back. She always tells us to find a cause, get involved in a cause, and lead from the front. And don't just be a participant. You need to be involved. It's like the old chicken and egg that you heard at the breakfast, where the chicken is involved, but the pig is committed. So that's what she wanted you to have, strong commitment. So